Hello, everyone, for this week's Live with Red Dot Diva. And I'm so excited about this session because there's a lot to talk about, and I hope you'll stay with us as we go through the exciting news that we have garnered from the San Diego Comic Con that wrapped up last weekend. And in case you're not sure who I am, I'm Red Dot Diva. I'm a local entertainment and pop culture blogger, and I do live streams from time to time. And I do the live streams are focused sometimes on Southeast Asian creatives. That's my first choice. But we also do geeky stuff like this one today, where we talk about San Diego Comic Con, or we do movie reviews. So if you want to look back at some of the live streams that I've done since I think 2020, you can check out on my Facebook page or my YouTube channels and dial back on some of the stuff that I've interviewed like creators from Singapore, comic book artists from Philippines and Malaysia. And I'm hoping to get more guests for this year's live stream as well, so you can get to know more of the Southeast Asian creatives in our region. But for today, we're just going to geek out about San Diego Comic Con's announcement, and that's why it's called the SDCC 2024 Rewind Show. And joining me today is my good friend Leo, the
Hello,
Geekonomist, as he
everyone.
calls himself.
Hi.
So,
Yes.
Leo, I know you've been keeping track of news just like I do. Before we go straight into all the nitty gritties that we have managed to, get from the internet or watch some of the panels online, could you please introduce yourselves to the viewers out there?
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for that. So yes, Leo. I'm also known as the Geekonomist. So the Geekonomist refers to the two halves of uh, what I really enjoy. One half is the geek half. The second half is the economist half. So I'm a curator of all things geek. I'm a football fanatic and recently into Magic the Gathering, the card game. So they just had a pre-release of the new set. And also I do film and TV reviews. I watch them, I enjoy them, and I write and talk about them as well.
So San Diego is known as like one of the largest geek festivities or weekends that can happen around the world. It's usually happening around July, and the one for this year was held in San Diego Convention Center on 25th July and wrapped up on 28th July. So 25th July is usually the preview night, and about 150,000 people attend the convention every year. Uh, have you ever attended San Diego Comic Con before, Leo?
Not yet, but I've actually seen it like grow so much. Like it was a very, very small, it was actually a comics and
Yeah,
toys convention
yeah,
when it first started. And it just grown exponentially
mm,
and it's become so
yes,
big. It is a cultural a big cultural icon in itself. It
yeah.
could
It's
even
it's
be the anchor point for our geek universe, you could
yeah.
say.
I, I think one of the things because they are so close to LA, Hollywood studios and all that, so
Mhm.
it's easier for the executives and the celebrities to join in San Diego. So I think I've been
Yes.
to San Diego about 4 times. It was the time when it was on the verge of booming into morphing into this pop culture monster that it is. Uh, OH is the one that people are queuing up and camping for, and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. I think it was on that year that was changing, and then I went for 3 times after that. Adulting took over, and I couldn't get passes anymore. I'm hoping to
Oh.
get back again one day, maybe one day again in San Diego, or if it decides to move uh, its venue to somewhere else. But yeah, it was just absolutely immersive. I've never been to a convention, right, that really swarms all your senses,
Mhm.
visually, orally, and the vibe that you get, uh, the cosplayers, the booths, some of them are so huge as well. And a lot of activations inside the hall, outside the hall. So
Mhm.
you can't escape from it because when you move out of a San Diego convention center, maybe to go back to your hotel, and then there are
Mhm.
activations outside as well. It's so much fun, and I kind of miss that. But sometimes you have to, reprioritize on other things.
Correct.
So, but I really do hope I'm able to get that again. The trick is that it was so popular that it's very difficult to get a pass on your own. And they said
I see.
if you get a pass, let's say this year, you have the pass to get like an opportunity to get pass next year. But if you didn't manage to get a pass this year, you're dumped into the general public ticketing.
Oh, I see.
They have a different dates for that. So then the chances are lower again because everybody just swamps for it, and your internet connection really has to be good, or you have a US friend who is able to get a pass for you, or get to know somebody famous. Yeah, but this is the part that we are going to get into the announcements and news that emerged from last weekend, and we're going to go right into we're going to kind of
Yep,
barrel
let's go.
through because there's so many things. So let's go, and Leo's going to take care of the first one, which everybody is very excited about, like the Hover Age experience, which is the NCU. Go for it, Leo.
Okay, so first we have Captain America Brave New World. So this will be the new Captain America, which is actually taken over by the Falcon.
Yep.
Yep. And so we have very big names like Harrison Ford. He'll be taking over as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. So he was a general, and now in this story, he has become the president. But no one knows that his alter ego is actually the Red Hawk. So you can see here, he's actually hawking out to the delight of the audience. He's showing how he will transform into the Red Hawk. Maybe he will do this exact pose in this movie as well. We'll wait and see.
I really
and
like
also
that. Always hold on for a while. I just really like it. Like Harrison Ford, right? Likes to cosplay as the grumpy old man.
Oh, he's the quintessential grumpy old man.
Yeah,
yes,
old man.
Yes.
All right, go on.
Okay, so there's a secondary villain as well, and he is played by Giancarlo Esposito. So he is one of the bad guys in Breaking Bad, if you remember. And he'll be playing, they confirmed him as Sidewinder. He is the leader of the Serpent Society. So they are like a mid-level criminal organization. They are not an Avengers level threat, but he's quite imposing villain to come up against. So he's almost like the Winter Soldier in the second Captain America movie. So there'll be the Falcon, the new Falcon Captain America, there'll be a new Falcon as well, and Captain America. They'll both have their hands full trying to deal with them.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yes. Okay, so next we have the Thunderbolts. Yeah, they have shown the cast reveal of the Thunderbolts. So basically, Thunderbolts are the Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad. They are mainly made up of villains and anti-heroes. Okay, so you can see two of the Thunderbolts are actually the Black Widow family. So we have the Yelena Belanoff, the new Black Widow, and the Red Guardian, played by David Arbor. Then on the middle right, we have the Winter Soldier. Yep. So Sebastian Stan is back. And on his right, it is the US agent. So he is the knockoff bad guy version of Captain America. So he was in the TV series as well.
Yes.
So, and then to his right is the Taskmaster. So Taskmaster was in the recent Black Widow movie. So they've gender swapped her, and she is actually sort of a mimic. She can copy superheroes' moves and some of their powers. Okay, so to the Red Guardian's left, there is Ghost from Ant-Man. So she was the sort of the villain in the second Ant-Man movie as well. Yeah. So she can phase in and out of buildings. And then the last one is sort of the Amanda Waller. So she's the leader that corrals all the villains and blackmails them to do whatever dirty job that needs to get done. And also one more interesting fact is there'll be a new Marvel hero that will enter this movie, and he's called the Sentry. So he's basically the blonde version of Superman. He has like flight, power, heat vision, and super strength. Yeah, so he's the blonde Superman, I call him. Hmm. Okay, shall we move on next to Fantastic Four? Okay, so this is a complete reboot of the Fantastic Four. So after Fox, Sony tried to do it twice and failed very badly at it. So this is Marvel's version reboot of Fantastic Four. It'll be called Fantastic Four First Steps, and it'll be set in a futuristic 60s version, similar to the Jetsons, if you remember that 80s cartoon. And then they showed off the flying car. It was an inflatable flying car. It
Yeah.
looks very cool. It's fully blue,
Yeah.
and I don't know how they're going to squeeze 4 people inside that car, but we'll see when it comes out. And also they had a review. They had a slight teaser of the bad guy, and of course the Fantastic Four will not be the Fantastic Four without either Galactus or Doctor Doom. So they did show Doctor Galactus, his eyes, his face basically. So he's not a cloud anymore. So
Yeah. I think I caught a bit of the teaser. Quite interesting, right? Like the old school kind of science shows that we used to see when we were younger. Like, I think they're going for that kind of vibe as well.
So playing Dr. Reed Richards, as you can see on the right, so that's Pedro Pascal. So he's basically in a lot of major franchises. He's like collecting franchises, like he's collecting Infinity Stones. Yeah. Yeah. So can you show yes like this?
Yep.
See, he's in Game of Thrones, so he rose to prominence from Game of Thrones. Then he was in Star Wars. He's even in the DC and Marvel. He's in the big two already, and also the Last of Us as well, the video game adapted into a live action TV series.
He's in everywhere.
Okay. Yes, he's everywhere now. He's the biggest names in Hollywood, one of the biggest names in Hollywood now. Okay, so yes. So since they are going to restart, it seems they are going to restart the Avengers and the MCU. So they will no longer be Kang, but will we see a multiverse variant of Kang in MCU? Yeah. So for those who don't recognize this handsome guy, he's called Hua Chu Kang, and he's a very famous sitcom comedy sitcom character. He's called Hua Chu Kang, but they're both spelled K-A-N-G as well.
I don't know what his superpower will be when if he's in the Kang universe, in the MCU universe.
Yeah, we shall see. Maybe we'll hold out some hope for some Singaporean reference. Maybe. And yes, so the biggest reveal, the biggest mic drop of the whole SDCC that stole the show was Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man will be back. He'll be back as Dr. Victor Von Doom. Okay, so he'll be revealed in both Avengers Doomsday. That's the first movie in 1st of May 2026. And the finale Avengers movie will be called Secret Wars, and that'll be 7th of May 2027. Okay, so there'll be a big fight, and they'll reboot basically the Kang storyline, Kang dynasty that's gone because the actor who played him recently was a bit naughty and he got convicted for some naughty stuff, and the mouse didn't like it, so they cancelled him.
Secret Wars is like a reboot as well, right? Of a lot of things. For those who are not
Secret Wars, they
familiar
can
with
do
MCU,
so many things. Yes.
So a lot of changes will be, in the MCU that you used to know will again evolve into something else.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, new mask, same task. And so will we have a reboot of the original Avengers with Robert Downey Jr. variants?
In everything.
Yes, everything is Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. Maybe they could make this as a joke movie.
Yeah,
Some
he is.
filler if they need some time.
That's what they say in Deadpool and Wolverine. He's gonna do this till he's 90.
Yes, do it 2090. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for
Okay.
the wrap up.
Yeah.
And this is the time that I'm personally excited about because I'm a DC
Yes.
girl.
Yes. So
So
I
as you
didn't
can
I didn't
see,
hear much about DC. So yeah, I'm interested
yeah,
to hear also.
as you can see, this is the new logo that was announced during SDCC, and we are back to the retro bullet form logo designed by Milton Glaser. Those who collect a lot of comics in the olden days in the 1970s through to early 2025, 2005, like that, you will see this old bullet that Milton Glaser has on your comics. So this kind of like throwback to the olden days with a like a slightly color. I think the color is a little different, but it gives you that kind of like we are going ahead, but yet with eyes on in the past. With this
Mm-hmm.
new bullet that you will see, and it's also for DC Studios for comics and all that kind of thing. Unfortunately, during the panel that they had with Jim Lee, there wasn't any presence concerning the new Superman Legacy movie that David Corenswet is acting in as the main character. But we do know that they wrapped up recently, and somebody actually had a very interesting observation that his Clark Kent and Superman kind of looks like the current My Adventures with Superman anime that
Hmm.
everyone likes. And it's so cute that the anime. Uh, there is a new season coming up for that. They announced that as well. And for the next season of My Adventures with Superman, we are expecting to see Connor Kent version of Superboy coming on board.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
So what's up next with the DCU? I'm going to go with those that are currently showing, like current ones, not the new ones yet. So very sadly, this is like a sore point to me because the Arrowverse has kind of ended, and Superman and Lois that is now on the CW still is the last show that's going to be happening in relation to the Arrowverse, and it's going to wrap up with the last season as well this year with Lex Luthor taking control of a lot of things. He released Doomsday, so there's going to be this epic battle on with Superman and Doomsday. And those who read the comics or have seen previous versions of Superman shows would know what happens. So they already released the trailer on that, and apparently it's a very sad ending for Superman. They didn't hide that, so it's not
Oh
considered a spoiler.
oh
It's in the teaser as
no.
well. And what's going to happen next with this thing that happened with my Superman with Lewis? I I find that my Superman with Louis is a little different from the previous Superman shows that we used to watch. I think it was more like family focused. And so
Mhm.
he has twin sons, and one has powers and one doesn't. So it has a different feel as well. And I thought that was an interesting spin on the Superman story rather than just him
Mm.
fighting bad guys all the time.
I've seen a bit of it as well. I like how Louis also is not just the damsel in
Yeah,
distress. She has
correct.
a very active
Yeah,
role in this series.
yeah.
That's why it's Superman and Louis.
Correct. And the previous season, I think it touched a lot of people's emotions as well because she was battling with cancer. And I know a
Mm.
lot of people have, experiences with that, regardless whether your own family members, yourself, or your friends. They did that arc quite well.
Mhm.
The new ones. Before I go into the Penguin, I want to mention that Harley Quinn is also renewed for the fifth season is coming in November, and this time round she's leaving Gotham and going on an adventure in Metropolis with Poison Ivy. And then there's a spin-off from that as well. Hell yeah, Kite Man is currently showing. I've yet to watch that, but it's on my list. So then we're coming to these are all on Max, HBO Max. So on HBO Max coming soon in next month on 8th September is the premiere of The Penguin. So The Penguin is the spin-off from Matt Reeves' Batman verse that
The
you saw the
one
Batman
with who was the guy playing the Batman?
Robert Pattinson.
The vampire? Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. So yeah. So I was thinking, yeah, the vampire, sparkly vampire Batman. That's how I remember. But I
So
always
yeah,
forget his name.
it's from that same universe. So Colin Farrell was the
Mm,
Penguin there, and they kind
yes.
of continued from the end of the Batman, where Carmine Falcone, the main mobster boss of Gotham City, was, he got killed, he died, and so there's this vacuum, right? And
Mm,
um, Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, he's trying to get into power, and I think this movie is like the typical mobster kind of show, crime,
mm-hmm,
violence, and a lot of like scheming involved. And he has a partner in crime, which is the daughter of Carmine
mm,
Falcone, Sophia Falcone, who's was in prison and then released or escaped. I can't really remember from the trailer. And they will be just doing a lot of, um, you know, conniving and crime in Gotham City. So I think this will be very interesting. And Colin Farrell has made such a transformation from from his usual self to the Penguin. He looks so different. You can't even recognize
mm-hmm,
him, and he's a
yeah.
powerful performer as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the next one that was announced by the group in DCU is Creature Commandos, an animated series also on Max. It's the 7 episodes, and the trailer was unveiled during SDCC. Is kind of a continuation. I think yes, it is a continuation from Peacemaker. So after Peacemaker,
Mm,
Amanda Waller found that she's not able to use human lives, to jeopardize her to jeopardize human life for her black ops kind of operations, those
yes.
clandestine kind. And so she was forced to use monsters. So there's
Mm,
this motley group of monsters uh, who are, gathered together to fight some of the things that she wants to fight. She's always a very
mm.
shady character.
Is that the weasel in the middle?
Yes, so
Is that the weasel?
Weasel is in this version. Weasel is in this version. In the comics, I don't think Weasel was in that version. And this animated series is also written by James Gunn. So he's kind of
Ah,
continuing from Peacemaker, yeah. And this
yeah,
is
because
interesting to note that this animated series is also the first new DCU show that you watch. It's even before Superman
mm,
Legacy. So this is like a new
wow.
DCU. I think it will probably bring out a lot of things that will look out for in future new DCU shows that will emerge in the next number of years. And that's kind of interesting. So the
There's quite
voices,
a
the
lot.
voice
There's
cast,
quite a lot of
uh,
pressure. There's a lot of
yeah,
pressure. It's the
the
first one,
voice
new
cast
project.
people that are familiar with and have already been doing voice for these characters, like David Harbour is also one of them, Indira Varma, Alan Tudyk, where you can hear his voice and see his face also
Mm.
almost everywhere. uh, and Frank Grillo, he will be Rick Flag Senior. David Harbour is Eric
Mhm.
Frankenstein, and yeah, Sean Gunn is back as Weasel. He's also voicing GI Robot, the military robot. And then
Mm.
Alan Tudyk is Dr. Phosphorus. And uh, the face of Amanda Waller, whom you see in movies, Viola Davis, also will be appearing as a voice cast in Creature Commandos. I think this is a very interesting animated series that will definitely be on my list because I love Motley
Mm.
Crue. There's a lot of comics news coming out from DCU as well, more so than Marvel, I would think. I think in terms of comics, I think DC is still really focused on the comics game, and they're putting out interesting titles. I'm not a really full on board comic book fan, so I did ask my friend John, whom you might have watched if you have seen our Deadpool versus Wolverine movie review. You can look back at my
Mhm.
YouTube channel. He's a comic book nerd, right? And I asked him, what is the comic that you are most looking out most after the SDCC announcement? And he says that it is DC's The New Gods, okay, New Gods. And it's because it's written by Ram V with cover artist Evan Kagel. So he says that this is the one that excites him the most is about some okay, I'm going to quote Ramby, who said in his panel, he says an absolute and all intrigues a cosmic imbalance which starts this spiral between new genesis and apocalypse. And it's also a story about fatherhood, which is like very interesting. So apocalypse is where Darkseid lives, his planet.
Dark side, yes,
Dark
dark
side,
side.
yes. So that's gonna like he's like greatest villain of DCU. So this
Yes.
is like new interesting comic that's coming out. There are others, of course, Justice League Unlimited, and there's a new Green Lantern as well. But I'm not gonna get onto that. You can probably read out that if you are the fan of the new Justice League Unlimited and Green Lantern. I know some people are very interested about the new Green Lantern as well. Again, there's Amanda Waller in that story. There's a new she's the
Yeah.
most favorite coming up like villain everywhere in DCU.
Mhm.
And I think that's about it. That's my quick points for DCU. And over to you for another very interesting franchise that used to not be so popular, like, not say popular, but not used to be uh, everywhere, but it's become, they found out that it's a good way to get themselves into the social media and in the eyes of a lot of people. It used to be very, very niche. And I know some fans are very not very happy that he has become more popular, but there you go. Then the next franchise you're going to is Star Trek. Leo, you can take over about the Star Trek news.
Okay. So we'll start with Star Trek Lower Decks. So this is actually a cartoon series, and it's a very fun, light-hearted spin-off that focuses on the everyday crew. So it's not on any major characters. So they have announced at SDCC that this will be the 5th and final season, airing on October 24th October, and it will be a double season on Paramount Plus. Okay, and they have announced that they actually revealed a legacy character from the OG Star Trek the
Mm,
original series, the one with George Takei, uh,
yeah.
and Spock, the original Spock. So it's from that series, and he's called Dr. Roger Corby, and it'll be voiced by a younger actor. So it's not the original actor, but it'll be the original character. So the season 5 synopsis is as follows: join the cartoon underdog crew in closing space potholes or wormholes. So expect tiny whiny shenanigans while dealing with an Orion war, angry Klingons, and diplomatic catastrophes and more. So I think they'll end off with a very high note, and they'll definitely have throw a lot of curveballs and expect to have a lot of fun and laughs with this.
Yes.
And also one more thing, yes. So from screen, they'll be jumping onto the comic pages, and
Nice.
there'll be a comic book series for Star Trek Lower Decks, and it'll be written by Eisner nominated writer Ryan North, and also the artist who will be doing it is a fellow collaborator as well, called Derek Charm. And this series of comics will be released in the US on the 13th of November. So you can enjoy watching Lower Decks, and then you can enjoy reading in Lower Decks, October and November. Yes,
Cute.
yes, very cute. And okay, so one of the big reviews as well, it will be called Star Trek Section 31. Okay, it'll be focusing on Philippa Georgiou, and it'll
All
be her
hail the
backstory.
Emperor.
Yes, yes, all hail the Empress, yes. So the younger version will be played by Miku Martinu, and if you remember, she was the little girl in Kate. So Kate was starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So she was the assassin that was being trying to getting cancelled because she didn't want to kill this little girl. So that's Miku Martinu from Kate. Then it's played, and then of course Michelle Yeoh, the biggest name as well. So she's like Pedro Pascal. She's collecting all the appearances in the major franchises.
Yeah,
She's
so I mean,
everything
you know, coming to
everywhere
that,
all
right?
at once.
Yeah, people complaining about RDJ, right, being Doctor Doom, right? But seriously, there are all these people who are everywhere as well, like
Yeah, yeah.
Michelle Yeoh, Pedro Pascal, as you mentioned, and the other one is Ming Na Wen.
Yes,
Ming Na
yes.
Wen is everywhere.
Mm. Okay, so section 31,
Yeah,
and oh, okay, so we're down with
yeah,
section
yeah.
31. Yes,
Oh,
so
you're done? Okay.
yes. Okay, so then another Star Trek series that will premiere next year is called Strange New Worlds. Okay, and basically Strange New Worlds follows another another ship, and the trailer was absolutely hilarious. Okay, so if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it after watching this stream. Okay, so as you can see here, these are the four of the crew of this new series. And if you notice their ears, they are actually all have become Klingons. So in the trailer, they are actually humans. And they took this serum that basically turned them into Klingons because they have to go into uh, Klingon space. They have to go to Klingon territory. So they have to disguise themselves. So what they did was they turned themselves into Klingons temporarily, and the only Klingon on board was Spock. But then now he has competition with four other people. So yeah, it's very funny, the interplay. I won't spoil too much. You can watch it for yourself, and if you'll definitely be laughing at the end of it. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
well.
This is the third season of Strange New Worlds, and I think it's been so good that Anson Mount, right, is able to embody Christopher Pike. Everybody loves him
Yes.
as Christopher Pike in Star Trek, and that's really good to know because sometimes the roles that he played, he didn't manage to get that much attention. But as Christopher Pike in Star Trek, yeah, he has a lot of fans. He has built a lot of fandom from that. Okay, what's next with Star Trek?
Okay, and also there'll be a new live action.
Ooh,
Yes, a new one, even more Star Trek than you can handle. Okay, and it's called it's called Starfleet Academy, and the new captain for this series will be Holly Hunter, and at SDCC they say it will be a very different captain. So there have been female captain Star Trek captains before, but they say they'll be different from her as well. And the
Hmm.
villain in this series will be played by Paul Giamatti. So Paul Giamatti is also like they always like to cast him as the villain as well. Yeah, a lot of movies.
So
Yes, he's
I'm
in
not
a lot
really
of
sure
movies as the
whether
villain.
they are in a ship or in the academy, but it could be both. Like they are training in on Earth or whatever,
Yeah,
where San Francisco or somewhere in the ship. Could be both. But we
they
know
haven't
that
made correct.
yeah, they haven't really made that much. They didn't give much spoilers. They just announced that there's
Yes.
this new series coming up and they're filming it right now in this month. But we don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It's a younger one, I guess, about cadets. Growing up, training, that kind of thing. And you have the returning fan favorites from Star Trek Discovery, like Tig Notaro's character or that fair. And then we'll have the old school Star Trek coming from Robert Picardo, and he'll be the Doctor. So this is quite
Yes.
interesting. I like it that I'm not a very gatekeeper kind of person. So I find that Star Trek embarking, Paramount and Star Trek embarking on this more diverse type of genres, animation with comedy and more serious stuff with a throwback to the past, and all this kind of thing is interesting to me, and also like I'm able to get into the fandom rather than being blocked, by
Mm-hmm.
the old school ones that say, oh, we are the serious sci-fi nerds and we love Star Trek. But I find that that's
Mm.
also making yourself a bit too in a niche kind of place, like you're not welcoming to new
Yeah,
fans.
and it's
And
also gaining a whole new generation of fans as well.
correct,
So
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
you don't have to watch the old series to
yeah,
appreciate the
exactly,
newer
yeah.
series.
Yeah, which is what people have been worrying about MCU as well, right? It's like, oh, do I have to do a lot of homework in order to watch Deadpool, you know? Or
Kind
do I have
of,
to do,
yes, kind of.
yeah, like then,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same with Star Wars happening as well. Yeah, but
Mm.
that's how it goes. All right, now we are done with the three big ones, and there's gonna be a big one later, which I will wrap up. But we're going to the other shows that I was very interested in, like The Walking Dead. Um, and they've done a lot of spin-offs. So one of the spin-offs is The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. And Daryl Dixon has not been in the comics. He's one of the characters that was created specially for the TWD verse in AMC's series. So, but fans love Daryl Dixon so much. Fans love Norman readers who acts as Daryl Dixon. And I have to say, I've kind of like bumped into Daryl Dixon, Norman readers twice, right? Once
Wow.
in San Diego while I was doing press, and the other time when he was here for a very short promo with the guy that plays Rick, and he has always been nice. Like he looks out for the fans, and I was behind a Taiwanese crew, and we were line up right for press. So
Yes.
I'm just like a blogger from Singapore, but I got invited for it. So I got a pen, and see what in my small little camera. And then the Taiwanese crew had this very actual film camera, right, for TV. So I just let them take over, and he was just one of like he walking down, and I was just watching the Taiwanese crew interviewing him, and then he said, "Oh, but who are you there behind?" And then I said, "Oh, I introduced myself," and then like he answered some of my questions, and he did a selfie with me. He's
Wow, that's
really
a very
nice.
nice,
Yeah, he's
very
really
nice
nice.
interaction.
Yeah, and Carol, this is season 2 of Daryl Dixon, because Daryl Dixon went to France. So his best friend, right, Carol, is back in the US, and he sensed that he's in trouble. So Melissa McBride acts as Carol, and the first season was called Walking Dead, Daryl, the book of Daryl, and then this is like the book of Carol. So the fandoms always like them both together,
Rhymes.
and the fandom calls them Carol. There are the French versions of villains there as well. A very military kind of or mobster type, military dash underground type of villains going on in France as well. And Daryl is kind of in danger. So Carol is trying to get to Paris or France as well. And this is the adventure that she undertakes in season 2. And it's not too long before we get to see what's happened, because I know fans are hoping for a reunion between Daryl and Carol, and you'll get to see this season 2 in 29 September 2024 this year. And they also announced
Wow.
that the series is going to be renewed for season 3 as well. So, and then of course the fans are hoping that, if we did see a teaser whereby Carol is in the screen with Daryl, so I know that they were reunited. Now the question is, will they be reunited with Rick, played by Andrew Lincoln?
Ah.
So because there was another spin-off that Rick was reunited with Michonne. So Michonne and Rick is back in with all the people, and Daryl's like Rick's younger brother. So, and he loves Rick a lot. We are hoping for a
Yes.
reunion in season 3. We're hoping.
Fingers
The
crossed.
other spin-off, the other spin-off is Walking Dead, Dead City. What's interesting about Dead City was that they actually showed a very dilapidated Manhattan. Usually, when you watch the Walking Dead, right, they are in the countryside, like Georgia or Texas or something like this, but not in a mega city. So for Dead City, Maggie was a well-loved character as well, played by Lauren Cohen, and then the very favorite villain Negan by Jeffrey Dean Morgan
Ah.
is also they are like dumped together in this adventure whereby they headed to Manhattan because Maggie's son was being captured and kidnapped. So they went to Manhattan. But we found out that at the end of season 1, right, it was a deliberate thing that Maggie dragged Negan along. She was actually offering Negan as a barter point to get her son back. So Negan
Oh.
didn't know that he was the chip that was used
So
to
it's a
target.
double cross.
Yeah, it's a double cross. So Dead City season 2, which I will show the slide. This season 2, says season 2 premieres next year, and they did show a trailer. So it was a 6-month time jump after season 1. And this time around, I think Maggie has a change of heart. I'm not sure. Maybe he wants to bring Negan back. But I'm not sure whether Negan is reverting back to his bad self.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now that he's been with the bad guys that are in Manhattan called, like, the bad guy, the bad woman, actually, she's a very strong lady controlling the villains there, and her name is like the Dharma. We are very weird. Like, during season 1, we were like, who's the Dharma? So she's in control of Negan right now, and we do not know whether Negan's gonna be kind of swaying to the good side. He has always been a little gray,
Mhm.
because the trailer shows that he has Lucille the bat back, his bat.
Oh,
Yeah, and he's really
the
happy to
famous
see
bat.
the bat. Yes. So, questions, premiering in next year.
Hmm.
And then I'm gonna leave it to you to talk about the other superhero series, The
Yes. Okay, I
Boys.
call this the rated R superheroes because it's like blood, gore, sex. Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of it. Okay, so the first major news is that the boys will end with this season 5 as well, the fifth and final season. So a lot of like series ending on season 5, which is actually a good number. So if you go on for too long, you'll suffer from the Game of Thrones
Yeah,
syndrome.
that's true.
Yeah. Mm.
It's good that
Okay.
they have an
So
endpoint. It's
mm,
good that they have
and
an endpoint.
I yeah, so like you mentioned just now, The Boys was actually a very niche, very minor comic book series, and the live action series has actually um like it's gone its own direction, but in a good way. So that's why I feel it has gained a major foothold in
Yeah.
the geek fandom. Yeah. So but okay, you're saying okay, if the boys is going to end in season 5, don't worry, we'll still have Gen V coming back in season 2, and then there's also two new spin-off series, Vault Rising and The Boys Mexico. Okay, and the one that is more that really caught my attention was Vault Rising. So
Yeah, me
it's going to be a backstory. So Jason Eccles and Aya Cash will be back as Soldier Boy and Stormfront. So we'll be exploring their backstory and how Vault actually rose to power and created a compound V in the 50s.
yeah. I,
Hmm.
I was quite sad that they killed off Stormfront. She was quite an interesting character. Very nasty, but very interesting.
Yes, but don't worry, she's back in the
Yeah,
flashback.
it's a
Okay,
prequel. Yeah.
and so Gen V season 2. Okay, so there was a cliffhanger on season 1, uh, where some of the characters were sort of captured and put in the hospital, and so we were like thinking, will they be back or won't they be back? So sadly, one of the characters,
Yeah.
Andre Anderson, he will not be back because the real life actor Chance
It's very
Perdomo,
sad. Mm,
he died tragically in a motorcycle accident, and he was only 27.
yeah.
Yeah. So they will not recast his character to honor his memory, but the other Gen V characters will be back. So and also the geek from the main series will make an appearance in season 2. He'll be so-called one of the bad guys as well. He'll continue his
Deep.
bad guy arc.
Every
Yeah.
time, like, face palm when the Deep does he's just so
Mm,
lame sometimes.
yes. Yeah. So Godokin University will be terrorized by the deep and maybe deep thoughts from the deep as well. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Season 3 of The Boys didn't capture my attention, but this last season, it was so good. Season 4, it was so good.
Depending on who you ask though, because the right wing people, they didn't realize they were being made fun of.
I don't understand why they don't see the point, It's like,
It's
pretty
like, are
dense.
we the baddies? Are we the baddies? Yes, 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 you are.
All right, from baddies to baddies. This is like the interview with the vampire, Anne Rice universe. So I used to I used to love her books not to the end, like the first few books that she wrote, because she kind of rambles in her last few books.
Okay.
But I think her books concerning vampire law is like one of the most interesting, um, very deep in terms of like the history of the vampires, as well as the characters that she has created are so memorable. And those people who read the books, right, just like Lestat is kind of one of a kind character that you can ever get in vampire lore. So the movies that came out from her books, right, aren't very impressive. I can't say that I can envision Tom Cruise as Lestat, but that happened. Neither could I, really enjoy Stuart Townsend as Lestat in the Queen of Dam.
Mm-hmm.
But he did have that, vampiric kind of physicality, but it wasn't the start that we know of the books. So when AMC decided to adapt Anne Rice books into the series, it was a very good adaptation. Of course, you can't do it, as you said, the boys comics and the boys TV series is different as well. And so it's the same with The Walking Dead. An Interview with the Vampire was that, but it pays a lot of tribute to Anne Rice's basic concepts, and the characters that she wrote are the same as what you have read in the books. So it has already gone for 2 seasons, and it has always been a focus more on Louis' point of view. That's why the first book was called Interview with the Vampire, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was about Louis' life before and after he was turned into a vampire, and the start was like the side character that he was telling a history to the interviewer. But with season 3, this season 3, it seems like the teaser where the start is a rock star, like very glam rock star, like very like kind of semi prince type, and he's getting all the spotlight on him. So that shows that season 3 is going to be based on the Vampire Lestat book. And the Vampire Lestat book throws back a lot to Lestat's journey as well, and his viewpoint of what happened in the first book, Interview with a Vampire. So it's now really, really on the start. I know fans are very interested and very excited about this, because Lestat is one of the characters that we enjoy and love so much. And Sam Reid, who is an Australian actor, embodies Lestat so well. Okay, he's like the Lestat we imagine in the books, and in the teaser that you can see on YouTube, it's like what you imagine Lestat will be as a rock star, And I'm so excited about this because the Vampire Lestat is one of my favorite books. I think I like it even more than Interview with a Vampire, because there were history about how the vampires were formed, and you go back right all the way to Queen Akasha. And sadly, when I think about Queen Akasha, I do kind of enjoy Alia's portrayal in The Queen of the Dam, and that was her last film before she passed away, which is very sad as well. But I'm also excited to see what they're going to do with the other vampires that we know about, like Akasha, who's the mother of all, like the source of it all. And then the twin witches involved in that as well, Mika and Maharit. And then there's Marius and Gabrielle, who's Lestat's mom, and Magnus and all that. I'm not sure how they're gonna. I did read, in the panel, that Gabrielle, Marius, and Magnus will be there. It's kind of interested to see who they cast as these characters as well. So it's all about his journey across time and across space. And for the first 2 seasons, it's quite grounded, either on in what you call it, in Louisiana, where it first started, and then later on in this hotel room or apartment where they continued the story. So this is going to be more out there. So I'm kind of interested to see. And they even released a lyric video of the start singing Long Face, which you can find on YouTube as well. And everyone was saying, get serious, AMC, put it down on Spotify so that we can have it on playlist,
Mm. Yeah, that's true. If you're gonna
Yeah,
release music, like you got to go
yeah,
Spotify.
right. And the next one is also another franchise that doesn't seem to die, which is the Dexter series. And you thought that Dexter already died, in the previous.
It was so disappointing. The season finale was so
Yeah,
disappointing.
that show wasn't really that great, right? But yeah, but I guess people wanted an kind of end. But hey, it didn't end. There's gonna be Dexter Resurrection, whereby Michael C. Hall is coming back and returning as the titular character as well. And the franchise the sequel would continue from Dexter New Blood. So is he dead or is he not dead? I'm not sure, but it has been announced that Michael C. Hall is back. So you can think of what you will with the new sequel. And they're going to start filming in January, and I think they will probably release it next year. But what's coming up really close this year in December would be a prequel series called Dexter Original Sin. And this is where you see a much younger Dexter, played by Patrick Gibson. But you will also hear Michael C. Hall's voice because he does continue voicing as Dexter.
So
In
you'll be narrating
narrating,
what he did.
some there's a trailer out as well, so you can decide whether are you very interested to know what happens when he was young, or how he actually evolves to become a very efficient killer.
Mhm. And how did he
That's
get into the forensics department in the police
Yeah,
force?
how did he get into the first? I'm not sure whether they'll get that far, but who knows if it's season 2 or 3 of Original Sin, we might get to see that.
Mm.
Okay, right now, the other thing that I'm very excited about, as people know, is not just DCU, but my love for Star Wars. So we're gonna
Yes.
wrap up this entire recap of SDCC news with Star Wars stuff. And if you're really watching and you want to comment stuff, please comment. And we'll kind of like interact as we go along. So it's gonna be Star Wars news, like calling all Star Wars fans. It's a bit unfortunate that there isn't really that much actually. We talk about the shows and the movies. They didn't reveal very much in terms of Lucasfilm. My suspicion is that D3, their big shows on Disney's stuff, is coming out on our National Day weekend. And I think they are reserving a lot of the big wow news for their own D3 show happening in California. So they probably didn't want to say very much at San Diego. But what they did was have their usual booth, and they showed their costumes for the Acolyte, which is the latest series that we got on Disney Plus. And I love costumes, so I'm really amazed at some of the costumes that you see sometimes. This costume designer for the Acolyte is Jennifer Bryan. Like for instance, the stranger or Chimera's costume, right? Because of how you see it on TV, you thought it's black, but it's actually shiny, bronzy,
It's green.
gold.
It looks
Yeah,
like
right,
some
shiny.
army camouflage.
Yeah, I didn't realize that as well, And when they showed pictures of what they were displaying at San Diego, I was like, okay, that's really interesting. It's not just black like what I thought Kylo Ren wearing, right? Black. It's not. It's kind of shiny and iridescent. Very interesting. Of course, they showed other stuff like Mace throwing knives as well. I wish I could be there. I mean, I love looking at costumes, but I'm hoping that this will be there in next year's Star Wars celebration in Tokyo, which I will be attending. What they did announce on the Lucasfilm panels, though, is the slew of publishing stuff that we can look forward to if you are a reader. And for the books, right, they are following up on the Acolyte by having these comics and books coming up. So the main one that people are talking about is the acolyte Wayseeker, because people are very interested to know more about Vanestro role after the show. So her character actually came on, I think was introduced in the High Republic storytelling. She was a teenage prodigy. So now she's like a Jedi Master and much older. And there's some mysterious things going on with her intentions, and stuff like this. So there is going to be a book coming up called The Acolyte Wayseeker, and more focused on Vanessa role 20 years before The Acolyte in the series. So kind of in between with when she was a teenage and when she was shown in The Acolyte. It's written, it's a YA novel, by the way. It's written by Tessa Gretton. So sorry, this is not YA novel. Cancel, wrong info. The author is Justina Ireland, and it's set to be released on 6 May next year, which is very close to 4th of May. So probably something related to our Star Wars geek stuff. And
Yes.
where we get all excited about new stuff coming up. So that's something that you can look up for if you're interested to know about Vanessa role. Okay, and then we also have the Kalmeka one shot on Marvel's comics by Kevin Scott. If everybody likes this Wookiee Jedi Master,
The Wookiee Jedi.
who had a very short appearance in the Acolyte,
I could never imagine a Wookiee as a Jedi Master. It's like they're so big. They're like super soldiers. They're like huge, strong. So how can they wield like a lightsaber, in a graceful, manner? It's like that was very interesting. Yeah, something that.
But I think the one that people who have watched the Acolyte was, they call themselves the Yacht Hot and the Jackie Jam. And Yacht is the young Jedi Knight, Yacht Yanfa, Yacht Fanda, and then Daphne King was the Jackie, Padawan Jackie. So unfortunately, they both got killed in the Acolyte, but fans want more of them. Since we got introduced to them and fans fell in love with them almost immediately. They have such an interesting chemistry on the screen, the two of them, like a love-hate thing. Love as friends. I'm not saying romantically, but they kind of get irritated each other as well, like siblings. There'll be a new YA novel coming up in July 2025. Still untitled, so we do not know what the actual title is for this book. But it's by Tessa Gretton. So I think we can kind of find out what they were up to before the happenings of the Acolyte. And I think hopefully I think that it will be kind of funny, because that's how they play off each other with their jibes and everything. But I think it's also going to be a coming of age kind of a book, because it's YA. So the most YA books are like this. And also the one that people have always been asking for is, and also the thing that Finn always asks, right? Like, why does everybody like to go back to Jakku? So in this comic, yes, we're going back to Jakku. The Battle of Jakku Insurgency Rising is another new Marvel Star Wars series, and it's written by Alex Segura with pencils by Leonard Kirk, Stefano Raphael, and Jethro Morales. So in this battle that happens in Jakku, which is actually the end of the Empire, we'll see how the rebellion succeeded in winning over. And I think they will be interesting as well for those who are missing that kind of like that segment of the Star Wars lore, We only started Force Awakens with Jakku, and we saw the ruins of the Star Destroyer. We do not know what happened before that. So that's going to be interesting as well. There's a handful of other Star Wars related stuff, books publishing wise, which I'm not going to mention because there's so many, and it caters to all our different interests and needs concerning like what we want to know about certain characters. So I'm going to leave that to you to research that on your internet about what you like about Star Wars. But here, I think mostly wrapped up on the main ones, right? I guess you have some other thing, Leo, to mention?
Not really.
Not really. I think we did a lot,
No.
and we managed to do it in
Yeah, we
1
did.
hour.
Yes, yeah. We covered I guess the more important ones, the ones that you may have missed out because there's just simply too much to cover
Yeah,
for just
there is.
even as one person. Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad
Yeah,
we managed to split it, and we covered a lot of ground. And you can go back and look at all the trailers to see what we described but couldn't show on screen, and this will really really help your understanding and see why we laughed at certain parts and why we found certain parts so interesting, but we don't want to spoil it for you as well. So if you actually go back and watch those trailers and YouTube videos, you'll get the full complete experience. Compliment.
yeah. I think the trailers are a good start.
Yes, this
I
will
didn't
one
want
trailer.
to get. I didn't want to put clips onto the live stream as well in case it gets caught by copyright and anything like this.
Yes, yes.
So, so please do look out for the trailers on YouTube. There are a lot out there, especially the Star Trek ones are so funny. And the interview with the vampire one. If you love Anne Rice books, you have to see that. I think you will be wowed by Sam Reed's portrayal. I think
Okay,
he's
I
such a
will
good
check that out as
listener.
well. Okay,
All right, Leo, hang on for a while and I'll say some words to the viewers out there, and then we'll
sure.
kind of like come back and say goodbye. So thank you for joining me, those who are watching and those who might be watching post live as well. If you like the stuff that I'm doing, you can look back at some of the YouTube videos I've done. Some of the Southeast Asian creators might not be a known name to those who are out there, but I would really like you to get to know them as well because they put out stuff that are different from the mainstream comics that you know, and they are also Southeast Asian focused with their Southeast Asian opinions and creative thoughts and process. And they may be something different to you, but it may be something interesting to you as well. So, I'm all for getting to know some of the Southeast Asian writers and comic book artists, even an indie stunt actor that I know, and I'm going to have a upcoming live stream with him as well. His shows on action films has been going around in action film circles and won some awards as well. So that's kind of interesting. I will get to announce more of my next guests in the rest of the year. I'm in the process. So look out for announcements on my Facebook page and Instagram, and you will find out who are the next guests. I have some in mind, and I'm hoping that they will say yes, so that we have some interesting interviews going on for the rest of the year. And also for the people who are looking to attend geeky stuff locally in Singapore, you have to look out for Gamescom Asia that's happening in mid-October. And then you have to really look out for getting tickets to Singapore Comic Con happening in December this year as well. The tickets are going to be announced real soon. They're kind of getting the social media pumped up nowadays. So follow the social media. I think they're not very the SG Comic Con is not really very prominent in Instagram, but you will find out on Facebook. So unfortunately, that's the way it goes. They may be on Instagram a little bit, but they are a lot on Facebook. So they have been announcing that tickets are going to be released for purchase and all that kind of thing. I'll try to post some articles on Singapore Comic Con on blogs as well, because knowing that I know a lot of people have no longer use of Facebook, so maybe some of the information may be of use to you. Then you don't need to have a Facebook account in order to find out more information about the ticketing for Singapore Comic Con. Now, you want to know how Singapore Comic Con looks like? I have videos from the past 2 years as well to see how they manage themselves. Of course, we are a smaller country and smaller geek base. So it's not as big as San Diego, but it's still one of the biggest shows in the region. And a lot of regional geeks do come to Singapore for Singapore Comic Cons, and we do have wonderful guests as well. Last year we had Stan Sakai and Peach Momoko, and it's a chance for you to meet them because you can't afford to go to the US cons, right? This is a chance to see your comic book heroes and get them to sign stuff and all that. So thanks for joining us, and then we'll see you again real soon. I'll announce what's my next live Diva. And thanks. I'll bring Leo back in, and we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. So thanks, Red Dot Diva. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. See, you have to do the YouTuber thing.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. Bye-bye.